Chinese Americans have a long history of immigration in the United States. Regardless of where they came from or why they choose to leave their home and settle at a place they knew nothing about, the Chinese immigrants have brought along many aspects of their culture, such as knowledge, beliefs, customs, and value. Just like all other immigrants, the bimodal population of Chinese Americans had to go through acculturation by learning about the unfamiliar culture. While some have to experience assimilation to fit in the westernized society by adopting some of the cultural practices from the United States, others have refused to assimilate due to the strong culture shock that they experience, as well as the language barrier. However, the Chinese Americans did not abandon their cultural roots, nor did they become fully westernized. Instead, the Chinese Americans have created a hybrid identity for themselves.
I'm Victoria Lau, and I was born in Pomona, California.
And I'm Jian Liang. I was born in China and I came here when I was 12, and we both identify ourselves as Chinese Americans.
To me, being Chinese American means I have a dual identity of being both Chinese and American. As someone with a Chinese ethnic identity, I grew up trying to fit in within American society.
For me, being Chinese American means that you have to speak either Cantonese or Mandarin, but still you have to hang out with the people of your own ethnic background, even though you might not speak the same language.
A lot of the music I listen to also comes from the radio, and I also like American music and TV shows. At the same time, I also like a few Chinese movies too, and I also partake in a few cultural practices at home, such as taking my shoes off in the house.
For my family, we also watch a lot of Chinese TV shows. We also stay close to Chinese community since we live in the Chinese ethnoburg.
It is also something which defines my hybrid identity. Last month, when we celebrated Chinese New Year, my family and their friends would bring both Chinese food and American food, such as steak and mashed potatoes, to the gathering celebration.
So, Victoria, what's your favorite about Chinese New Year?
Has to be the red envelopes.
Red envelopes for Lunar New Year are equivalent to presents on Christmas Day in the United States. Red envelopes with money are given from adults to children to wish them good fortunes, and they are also a symbol for prosperity. Chinese New Year is not only celebrated in China, it is also a public holiday in countries such as Indonesia, Malaysia, North Korea, Singapore, South Korea, and Vietnam. Although Lunar New Year is not a public holiday in the United States, it still doesn't stop Asian Americans from celebrating the Lunar New Year. Public celebrations are held throughout the West and East Coast, as well as Hawaii, where there are large populations of Asian Americans.
So last month I went to a couple of Chinese New Year festivals in Alhambra, Monterey Park, and Rosemead. There were food vendors and other booths owned by people of our community.
There was also a Lunar New Year celebration on campus, even though our school is very diverse. During the celebration, there was a dragon dance, a Filipino tinkling dance, tinkling dance,
tinkling dance,
and
right.
they were even going out giving out red envelopes, but instead of money, there was candy inside. But still, the red envelopes themselves still represent good fortune. These events help teach people that are not Asian Americans more about our culture.
But when I was in China, winter break is actually during Lunar New Year, so it is taken more importantly in China than is here in the US. But to link back to our hybrid identity, my family also celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas. So for us, these Christian holidays are just as important as Lunar New Year.
Activists in the Asian American community have tried to push for the Lunar New Year to become a national holiday in the United States. The petition to the Obama administration in 2013 intended to recognize Lunar New Year to be just as important as Christmas, Easter, and other cultural and religious holidays. Although Lunar New Year has not yet been recognized as a federal holiday in the United States, the growing population of Chinese Americans would continue to cause a positive impact on the cultural, economical, as well as social aspects of our community.